Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X at Movies TV Mad and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X. A very warm welcome to Thursday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. First of all, let's talk about this. Look at that, my friends. This is the Superman Kingdom Come logo. So this is very interesting. So where did I pluck this from? Well, yesterday they had a table read at Atlanta for Superman Legacy, and one of the actors posted a picture of her name, and next to her name was this image. Now don't get it twisted. This was all purposely done, obviously, to get us hyped, to get us thinking. So what the hell is the Kingdom Come Superman logo doing at the table read of Superman Legacy? Oh my God, it must be a Kingdom Come movie. It could be, but I just don't think so. I just don't see it. I mean, isn't Kingdom Come Superman a little bit older than David Corenswet could be? But also, they could make him look a little bit older, I suppose. Now, let's be clear, I'm not a comic book dude. I love superheroes. I like comic book movies and TV shows. And I love live action. I love, comic book movies. That's where my knowledge is. It's not in the comics, right? I never said I was an encyclopedia of comics. So my knowledge of Kingdom Come and Kingdom Come Superman is zero. Zilch. Now, if you like, you can actually educate me in the comments down below so I know more next time, because I want to know more, but I don't have the time to do so much research. I don't edit my videos, I don't script my videos, I don't have a hearing piece in my ear telling me what to say. Everything I just improvise everything I say when I'm talking about what I want to talk about. So I don't think that Superman Legacy is a Kingdom Come movie. But I do believe we will see Kingdom Come Superman. Maybe we'll see Henry Cavill's Superman. Maybe we'll see Brandon Routh's Christopher Reeve's Superman. Maybe we'll see Dean Cain's Superman. Maybe we'll see many versions of Superman. Maybe we won't see those previous iterations and James will cast other people to play other versions of Superman. But the movie is called Legacy, after all, to coin the phrase from another content creator on X that I was reading. It is called Legacy, and it's called Legacy for a reason. This film is about Superman's legacy, and I did make some videos quite a while back, and I was stating that I believe there will be more than one version of Superman in Superman Legacy. And I think with this logo showing up, I think that's pretty obvious, because he's clearly not going to show us David Corenswet's logo or his costume. We're not seeing that. He's already said we're not seeing that costume before they start shooting. So I would say we'll see it sometime during the shoot, but more realistically, we'll probably see it when the shoot is completed, maybe in 3 to 6 months' time. It depends how long they take on set and on location to film and produce this movie. The average time these days is around 3-4 months, because half the time is spent on actually physically shooting the movie, and then another 3 months is spent on post-production and VFX and CGI. Now, back in the old days, it would take around 6 months to make a movie because they didn't have computer-generated images. It's all different today. But it is interesting that this logo has surfaced, that Gunn wanted us to see that logo. It's because it's pretty obvious. It's very hard to determine why that logo is in the movie, and it doesn't give anything away, everyone. That's why he's allowed this logo to be shown. But for me, it's pretty obvious that we will see Kingdom Come in this movie, that we will see lots of DC characters from Kingdom Come in this movie, that we will see, Kingdom Come Superman in this movie, that we'll see a multitude of versions of Superman in this movie. Now, as far as we know, David Corenswet is playing the main Superman, as far as we know. everything we know may not be what we know, you know? It could be, you know, I'm going into conspiracy X-Files mode now, because who knows? But I do believe, and I think this is very awesome, that we could be seeing a multitude of versions of Superman in this movie. Because I think that's the only explanation for us to be seeing the Kingdom Come logo of Superman. So a lot of people will be getting excited. Oh my God, it's Kingdom Come Superman. Now don't get me wrong. I'd love it to be a Kingdom Come Superman. I think, you know, again, I don't know jack shit. I just know bits and pieces what people have told me about, you know, those graphic novels and what they mean to everyone. You know, and I've seen the pictures, I've seen the artwork for years, but I don't know much else about what Kingdom Come is. But it sounds fucking awesome, and I'd be down for it. But I do believe that it's not a Kingdom Come movie. It could be, but I don't think that it will be. And I don't expect James Gunn to clarify, you know, if it is a Kingdom Come movie or not. But I don't think that it is. But if it is, wow, you know, that could be very, very interesting, depending what Kingdom Come Superman actually is. Now, I did see the Kingdom Come version of Superman, Brandon Routh playing his version of Superman, his and Christopher Reeve's version of Superman in, you know, Crisis on Infinite Earths, you know, part of the Arrowverse, you know, that they did that story arc with Arrowverse, and it looked pretty cool. But I don't think they really did it enough justice because they didn't have the budget to, you know, to give it enough justice. Don't forget, there's about, we saw about 3 versions of Clark Kent in that. We saw Tom Welling's Smallville's Clark Kent. Don't get me fucking started on that. It's not Smallville canon. That really wound me up. Anyway, moving on, we saw, of course, Brandon Routh's version of Superman and Tyler Hoechlin's Arrowverse version of Superman in that as well. So we at least saw 3 versions of Clark Kent. Was there more? I don't think so. So this is a very interesting development. There's no question about that. And of course it gets me more hyped for Superman Legacy. What does it mean? I think it means we're going to have a multiple amount of versions of Superman in this movie, which means this movie is a lot bigger than we ever thought it was going to be. If that's the case, if my theory is right about multiple Supermen, and to have multiple Supermen, obviously we're going to be venturing into the multiverse as well. I don't know how much money they're spending on this movie, because that's very interesting, because we're going to get to Warner Brothers overspending, because there was a Variety article talking about Warner Brothers spending big. So in April, when they're legally allowed to, have negotiations about selling Warner Brothers Discovery, merging Discovery, it makes it look like a more attractive proposition. But we don't know how much Superman Legacy is actually going to cost. That's very, very interesting if you ask me. Because normally we know a budget for these films, but we don't seem to know a budget on Superman Legacy. So this could be a really huge, expensive movie, or it may not be. It may be a tight movie. It may be $130 million, which is not a lot for a Superman movie. But for me to see that Kingdom Come logo, it's got to be because we're going to see different versions of, of this character, of Superman. Because I just don't think David Corenswet is playing Kingdom Come Superman. Of course, if I'm wrong, I'll take the L on that. I don't normally have to take many L's because I'm normally right about these things. I do have a good gut on these things. I talk to people. But, Kingdom Come Superman could also be played by David Corenswet, made to look older. Who knows? That would be very interesting, wouldn't it now? But I do think there's going to be more than one version of Superman in this movie, because I just don't see this as a Kingdom Come Superman movie, as awesome as that would be. Because all right, let's allow ourselves to conspire and imagine a Kingdom Come DCU. As I said earlier, I have a very limited knowledge, if any knowledge, on Kingdom Come. And so they could go down that way. and it would be interesting. I have no idea what they're going to do here. Now, yeah, as I said earlier, James Gunn's shown us, comic book covers of Kingdom Come before. He was hinting and he was teasing, and the text that he put on there was making plans. So very, very interesting. It could be Kingdom Come. It could be. I don't think it is, but it could be. But he also was teasing All-Star Superman. And so, yeah, I don't think it's Kingdom Come. So I would, look, what I would say to everyone about this film is lower your expectations, because I see a lot of stuff on Threads and a lot of stuff on X, and everyone's getting very excited. And as I've said before, it's okay to be hyped about a movie, but I want you to keep, keep your expectations on the download, because none of us know how good this movie's going to be, how much money they're spending on it, how ambitious James Gunn's being, being with this movie. We just don't know. But it is very intriguing that the Kingdom Come Superman logo was revealed. And it kind of, whenever you think you know what this movie's going to be, and to be fair, we don't actually know the synopsis for this movie. Well, we do. We do have a kind of synopsis, but it's very, as I say, it doesn't really mean much. But if you look at the synopsis, yes, there is a synopsis, by the way. It doesn't sound like the synopsis for a Kingdom Come Superman. So it's very, very interesting. Could this be, instead of it being a multiverse movie, could Superman travel in time? I don't know. Then you could see a foreshadowing of Kingdom Come. Maybe Kingdom Come is Clark Kent's future. Maybe it's similar to the nightmare sequence in Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. And if that was the case, Snyderverse stans would have a lot to say. They'd accuse Gunn of literally copying what Snyder did in BVS. But we don't know why the Kingdom Come logo is there. It could be there just to confuse fans, just to hype fans up. It may have nothing to actually do with the movie. But of course, that's unlikely. Also, we saw an image of James Gunn and his wife and the actor who played Vigilante. He was showing them around the set of Superman Legacy, but does confirm that his wife and the guy who plays Vigilante in Peacemaker is not going to be in Superman Legacy. So there was a picture there. So that's interesting. He's showing his friends around. And obviously the guy who plays Vigilante is part of DC Universe. I think he will be part of Peacemaker too. So that's quite interesting as well. So everyone's very excited about James Gunn's plans, and this logo being revealed does kind of get you thinking that this, and I said from the beginning that we should take the legacy part of the title of this movie literally. There's a reason why it's called Legacy. I got a bit worried that it meant he was going to kill Superman off by the end of this movie. But what Legacy could also mean is showing us all the different versions of Superman in live action, and then moving on to David Corenswet's DC Universe, Superman Legacy, Superman. We could be dealing here with a Spider-Man No Way Home, with a Spider-Verse type of film, but in a Superman, in the guise of a Superman live action movie as well, which is very, very interesting to me. So in the comments down below, I want you to tell me why you think there's a Kingdom Come Superman logo at the table read of Superman Legacy. I've given you my thesis. I've given you my theory, why I think that is. I think there's going to be more than one Superman in this movie. I think, as I said earlier, I think it's the only explanation why that logo is there. Because I don't think this is a Kingdom Come Superman. Because if you think about everything, it doesn't really make much sense. But, if you think about the other characters that are in the movie, maybe that kind of hints towards it being Kingdom Come Superman. I don't know. Is Guy Gardner in the Kingdom Come DC comic graphic novels? Is he part of it? Because Guy Gardner is in Superman Legacy. Hawk Girl, is she part of Kingdom Come? So you'll have to let me know, because as I say, I know next to nothing about the Kingdom Come graphic novels. So this is shaping up to being a very, very interesting movie. Now let's move on from the Kingdom Come Superman logo, because something else happened yesterday, and it was a Variety article that claimed that the Joker sequel, the sequel to Todd Phillips' 2019 Joker, Joker Folie à Deux, is got a budget of around $200 million. And when I first saw the headline, I thought, this is bullshit. But when I read it, it was very interesting to see that Tatiana Siegel, the author of this article, was making the point that Warner Brothers are spending big to show any potential purchasers or mergers that it's a very good company. They got money to spend. So from the outside looking in, it looks like they're spending big. But what's very interesting about Warner Brothers, unlike Disney, who can't really get a hit from anywhere right now, Warner Brothers had a hit with Barbie, then with Wonka. June 2, the sequel to June 2, has 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's going to make a lot of money. That will be their third blockbuster hit in a row. So Warner Brothers Discovery under Zaslav is making money. To no surprise to anyone, the reboot of The Color Purple lost $40 million. Yes, the extremist woke movie they tried to make, where the people making it were saying, oh, we're so much better than the original movie. Do you remember A Color Purple starring Whoopi Goldberg? What an amazing fucking movie that was. And Oprah Winfrey, I think Winfrey's involved in this one as well. Well. They lost 40 fucking million. Anyway, so this article is making claims that in April they can start talking to potential suitors to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, merge with it. It's clear that's what's going to happen, because that was why Zaslav was brought on board as a troubleshooter, to trim the fat of Warner Brothers and make it a sellable commodity for AT&T. So very interesting indeed. But they are claiming that Joker cost $200 million. They're claiming that Lady Gaga's getting $12 million and Joaquin Phoenix is getting $20 million. I'm calling bullshit on that already. I think Lady Gaga is getting more than Joaquin Phoenix. That's just my opinion. There's no way Joaquin Phoenix is getting more money than Lady Gaga. And if you think that, you don't know how big Lady Gaga is in the world of entertainment. I don't care about this mismatch of women getting less than men and all that bullshit. There's no way Lady Gaga is getting less money than Joaquin Phoenix. I don't believe that. So you can understand that the budget of this movie would be slightly higher because you've got two leads in Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga. Now I have asked around, and apparently the budget for this movie is around 120 to 130 million, which makes a lot more sense. This is not an outrage. This is not a calamity. I saw someone commenting on this Variety article saying this movie is going to flop. You know, and even Tatiana, who wrote the article, was saying, yeah, well, musicals, you know, you never know if they're going to be successful. It's not a musical. It's a movie with songs in it. But there is no way that this movie, you know, is costing 200 million. How? How is this movie costing 200 million? It's not physically possible for a DC movie that's set, you know, on the streets, in a set built to be an asylum, which is what we've heard this movie is, and with a few sing-songs with Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix, right? There's no way that movie can cost 200 million. As I said, either earlier in this video or the other version of this video, which I deleted because I fucked up big time, but for this movie to cost $200 million, you have to be on Krypton, you have to be on OR, you know, you have to see all the lanterns, you have to see Superman, you know, you have to see Batman fighting some alien, you have to see Red Tornado. It would have to be an insane movie. For a Joker movie, a Joker and Harley movie, which basically is what this movie is. As far as we know, it could be absolutely, totally different than we think it's going to be. But for me, it's not viable for this movie, you know, to be costing 200 million. When I first read this headline on X, I thought, you know, someone's trying to shit on this movie from inside Warner Brothers. You know, someone's trying to, give out, bad headlines. But when I read the article, that's why it's important that you read these articles. I mean, I'm a bit naughty. I react to a lot of the stuff I see on social media without reading it, and I really should. Naughty boy. I am out of order for that because that's very reactive and wrong, and I shouldn't do that. But I did read the article, and it was interesting. But what the point of the article from Tatiana was that, in fact, they're spending big because they want to accumulate, interest from buyers and mergers. If they're spending big, it looks like that Warner Brothers is doing really well and they're doing good business. And a lot of the expenditure, let's get her name right, Tatiana, was talking about was, over expenditure to look like they're a thriving company as well. But I don't believe for 1 minute that Joker Folie à Deux cost $200 million. I think that's an outrageous statement. And as I say, I don't even know where Tatiana got that information from. As I say, it is not possible for Joker Folie à Deux to cost $200 million. Right. So that's my opinion on that. But we are heading to interesting times. We've just been talking about Superman Legacy, which is supposed to start shooting next month. Very, very interesting if it actually keeps that date. Because let's talk about scenarios here. Because first of all, let me say this. Think about this for a minute. And I spoke about this earlier, or the video that I fucked up. If NBC Universal merged with Warner Brothers Discovery, if Warner Brothers Discovery is bought out totally by another company, will they want James Gunn and Peter Safran, to be running DC Studios? It's a very viable, logical question. Because the logical answer is, the possibility is they may not want Gunn and Safran running DC. They may have other plans for DC. So we're talking about potentially, right, according to Tatiana Siegel, around town, around Hollywood, they're saying that Warner Brothers, as soon as they legally can, will be talking to other companies about mergers and sales of this studio. That's a strong hint. We'll see what happens in April. It's going to be very, very interesting. I mean, like, journalists and everyone's been saying this for the longest of times, that, Zaslav is just a fixer, just someone to trim the fat, which I've always believed myself. He's not a movie man. He's not someone who's planning a long future to, for Warner Brothers Discovery. He's trimming the fat, then they're going to sell. And that begins in April. That's pretty obvious that that's going to happen. So we're in interesting times. We're in uncharted territory, everyone. Where do we go from here? We're starting production on a Superman movie. The Batman 2 is supposed to be going into production at some point this year. And I don't think anyone's even read the script, apart from Matt Reeves, who wrote the script with somebody else, right? I'm not sure if Madeline Tomlins was involved this time, or it was someone else. Anyway, apparently that script is actually ready. But we're looking at February now. Very soon we're going to be in March. What's the date as I record this video? It's the 22nd of February, right? So they're not going to start filming this movie in March. Then you're talking about April, right? Let's look at the maths. Let's say they started filming next month, which is unlikely, by the way. But then you could say it's viable to release next year. If they even start shooting in May, right, maybe they can release it next year. But my point about Matt Reeves is he takes a long time to write his scripts. He's a perfectionist. He takes a long time to shoot his movies, right? Because a lot of the stuff he does, most of this stuff, if not all, is physically, right? These films are very grounded movies. They're not CGI movies. So even the VFX is mainly all physical. So these films take time. So I just don't see how, and I've said this many times, and I hope I'm not boring you about this, I don't see the Batman 2 releasing next year. But of course, if they start shooting very, very soon, that could be a possibility. But we haven't heard anything about a shoot date for the Batman 2. So, as I say, I don't come from biased. I love DC, but I have to be honest with my subscribers and my viewers about what's going on. We seem to be in a very interesting state of flux with DC. We want to be excited. I've spoken about an exciting future with James Gunn his plans and his slate that he announced last year was very exciting. I like it, even though I have frustrations about the Snyderverse halting and what they did to Zack and Henry, etc., etc. It doesn't mean I'm okay with that, but I don't think you have to hate Gunn or Matt Reeves or Todd Phillips just because Zack Snyder didn't get to finish what he did. I think you can be balanced about these things as we speak about every day. But we do have this weird situation that, realistically speaking, that Warner Brothers could be up for sale, that Warner Brothers could be merging with another company. And, you know, there has been another theory, of course, about DC Studios, about Superman Legacy, that it's all being used as bait to suck people in to merging or buying Warner Brothers Discovery. So how realistic are all these plans? Well, we know there's a writer for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. We know, there's a Creature Commandos animated series coming. Apart from that, it's all just words. It's all just titles and part of a slate. Nothing's actually happening on those things. Nothing's been done. Apart from, having James Mangold attached to Swamp Thing. But we've heard nothing about what's going on with that film. And we ain't going to see that film, if ever, anytime soon. Is all this being used as part of bait to sell Warner Brothers? Or is any of this realistically happening? Now, Superman Legacy must be realistically happening. You would think that, right? You would think this film's definitely going to be made. They've got a cast. They've got, someone who's going to do, they've got a composer to do the score. They've got James Gunn who's written the script. He's going to direct the movie. And they're supposed to start shooting next month. So, realistically, Superman Legacy is happening. But watch out for this shoot to be delayed. I'm not saying the Superman Legacy shoot is going to be delayed, but I'm saying to you, if it is delayed, then there's a problem. Then this movie, if the shoot is delayed, then we know it's not really happening. That the whole thing is bait as part of, to make, Warner Brothers Discovery attractive as part of a merger or a sale. So look out for that. I'm not saying it's going to be postponed. I'm not saying it's going to be delayed. I'm saying if it does, then that would be very, very interesting. But I would imagine that Superman Legacy does go into production and does start shooting in March. I'm a Superman fan. I'm a DC fan. I want that to happen. But I have experience of this industry. So when I smell a rat, I've got to echo those concerns to you. And the interesting thing is that you're in the middle of shooting a Superman film, but you're also trying to sell, theoretically trying to sell Warner Brothers or merge it with somebody else. And Superman Legacy probably only exists as bait to make sure they get top dollar for this sale or merger. What happens to Superman Legacy when these deals are done? Well, once you start making something, you can't mess around with someone like James Gunn. This is happening. This is happening. So are they really trying to sell this company? Or is Zaslav and Discovery here for the long term? These are the answers. These are the questions we simply don't know the answers to. But these things will come to light in April when they're legally allowed to start talking to people. So it's going to be very, very interesting. If Zaslav doesn't start talking to people, he's here for the long term, and so is James Gunn. But in April, if he does start talking about merging or selling the company, because he has to publicly tell the shareholders, who are major, the majority of those shareholders are AT&T. Let's not forget that. So we're going to know if they are going to try and merge or sell the company by April. They could have been secretly, it's not legal, but secretly they could be already talking to NBC Universal, for example, about a merger. And they could just announce the merger in May or whatever and say, yeah, we suddenly started talking, this is business. We know how this works. If that happens, then DC Universe and DC Studios under the leadership of Gunn and Safran is under threat. There is no question about this. If this company gets sold or is merged, then Gunn's future is under threat. There is no question about that. So we do live in very, very interesting times right now. For example, if we just come up with another little story that came up yesterday, I forgot the actor's name, but you know the guy who played Deathstroke in the Snyderverse. He was, he's apparently very good friends with James Gunn. You know, they say they're all friends with James Gunn. Well, being friends with people in the entertainment industry isn't like you and me being friends in the real world and going down the pub and having a chat. They all say they're friends, they're not really friends. Anyway, I forgot his name. So, Joe Manganiello, that's it. Joe Manganiello, who played Deathstroke in the Snyderverse very well, by the way, wanted to keep playing him, and James Gunn told him to let it go. Now, what's interesting is Manganiello came out publicly and said this. For me, he said it purposely so he could get backed up by the Snyderverse fans and stans to get their anger, get their fury. It's clear he wants to keep on playing Deathstroke. But he has been working on a graphic novel with Jim Lee about his version of Deathstroke for a very long time, which apparently is still going to happen. So that's good. That's positive. But it's clear, James Gunn doesn't want, Snyder's actors. And there's a very few actors from the original DCEU that are going to be part of DC Universe. We already know that. We have Viola Davis, aka Amanda Waller. There's no issue with that. There's the people that worked in the Suicide Squad and in Peacemaker who have a future in DC Universe. We already know about some of the actors who have a future in DC Universe. So, yeah, and it's sad that Joe Manganiello can't play Deathstroke again. I mean, as I said the other day, you've got DC Elseworlds. And again, it kind of proves that DC Elseworlds is a dumping ground for Todd Phillips and Matt Reeves and for the Black Clark Kent, rather than a place to do epic, outstanding Elseworld content. And that's a shame. And after Joker Folio Do, we'll find out. Is there going to be any more? I doubt it. After the Batman 2, will there be any more? I doubt it. Of course, again, it all depends on two things. Box office and who actually owns Warner Brothers Discovery. Things could change here very, very quickly.